CrotchTalk, an adult entertainment podcast inspired by real-life conversations about things that you just don't know until you know. And I'm your host, Casey Gray. Welcome to today's episode, Life Begins at the Crotch. And in reality, Crotch Talk began with life. You know, it was those conversations that just naturally evolve when you have a glass of wine in your hand, you're hanging out with your best of friends, and you're getting into these stories that have you laughing out loud and pissing your pants if you're in that point in your life. Of course, a lot of these stories start when you're pregnant and you're hanging out with your friends who are also pregnant and discovering everything that's happening to your body, your mind, and down there. Sure, you try to turn to What to Expect When You're Expecting, that book that everyone reads when they're pregnant, and it's a great book. But there are definitely unwritten chapters in what's really happening or could happen. Everything from morning sickness to cravings to trying to figure out a comfortable position to have sex and everything else. Speaking of cravings, I had this craving once when I was 8 months pregnant. I said, hey, we need that half gallon of milk. If you pull in quickly to Price Chopper, I'll run in and go get that one item. Of course, like a good husband, he pulls into the parking lot, lets his wife out, expecting her to go pick up that one item. That rarely ever happens. But anyway, of course, milk is way in the furthest back corner, as far back as you could possibly go. I open up the cooler, grab my half gallon of 1% milk, and then suddenly I see it. It's a ham. It's a 15-pound ham butt, and it was calling my name. I needed to have that at all costs, and suddenly for dinner, the only thing on my mind was ham, potatoes, and carrots. I grabbed that ham butt, shoved it under my arm next to my very big 8-month pregnant belly, grabbed the carrots and a bag of potatoes. I think I had to stick them in my mouth to carry everything out because I wasn't going to get a cart, of course. And I checked out and I came out with an entire large grocery bag, and my husband was like, what the heck? I thought you were going in for milk. And I simply replied, the baby wanted ham. But, enough of my stories. To add a dose of unfiltered reality, I have two wonderful moms, Jen and Caitlin, joining me today with some wild stories and reflections of their moments not exactly expected. Welcome, Jen and Caitlin. So to get things started, we're all moms and we all have children in the ages of 12 to
17, almost
17.
18. Yep.
Isn't it funny how you forget what it was like to give birth to your children and suddenly you see someone else who's pregnant and you're like, oh, those special moments are coming. Jen, you have a birth story, don't you, about giving birth to your daughter, your first child?
Well, yes.
Oh, why don't you give some insight onto what giving birth is like? Have you heard this?
No, but your brow is knit, so I want to know why that is.
My brow is knit. What does that mean?
You look concerned.
Oh, it was not. It wasn't fun. Yeah. So what ends up happening? You're going. You don't know what you read the book. What to expect when you're expecting. You do all this research, and then the doctor is telling you, baby's not flipping or whatever. I forget what he said. You're gonna have to have a C-section, and everything in the book tells you no. You don't want a C-section. You want to have a vaginal delivery. And I start panicking. And I start crying because I got to go to my stress test, right? You got to do 1,000 fucking stress tests. I'm crying. Nurse is like, well, he says I have to have a C-section. The nurses get all mad. They yell at the doctor. The doctor calls. He apologizes to me. Next thing you know, I go into labor. And guess what? My kid's sunny side up, which means the only way she's coming out of me is if they cut me and get forceps and bring her out, which is what my birth story is. My husband, he sees, I think he just saw the needle for the numbing, and he passes out. And, yeah. So she was delivered.
And I think that there's a broadcasting part of this, too, isn't there?
What's the broadcasting part?
There was someone else in the room, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, that's the worst. My father, right? He's there. He's filming all of it because I'm going to want to see pictures of what my vagina looked like when I gave birth to a child. Who wants to see that?
Speaking of which, have you ever looked at it, actually?
So he brought it up on his, we work together. He brings it up on his computer. And I'm like, he's like, look at this. This is when she's born. I'm like, what is that? He's like, that's Claire about to come out of you. I was like, Erase that. Erase it all.
Why is this in my
Erase
workplace?
that.
Were there other people there?
No.
Oh my God.
But still.
So I will tell you that my sister had a high school friend who came to visit shortly after having her first child and had a whole photo album back when we used to print things of
the delivery.
the delivery. And then she said, this is a beautiful thing called the rectal flower.
What is that?
When your ass turns inside out.
No, it doesn't. Does that happen?
That is new information to me.
I
New information.
That's why it's on CrotchTalk.
My favorite is like, they're like, bounce on this ball. You're fine. So I'm bouncing the ball. And then my husband's like, you just pooped all over the ball. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on with my body. No idea.
Well, maybe you just had a rectal flower.
Maybe I did.
And it was dusting the ball.
Oh my God.
God almighty.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, delivery is great. It's very magical.
I did vomit.
I did too. The pain was too much for me.
I did vomit.
Yeah.
You know, my first pregnancy and delivery was a bit more normal than my second one. And so my everything was happening normal for my son. And so, he went through the contractions. Yes, it was killer. And there's a lot of other details that I'll skip over to get to the second part. So when I had my daughter, it was very interesting so the contractions are supposed to help dilate you. And it was like acting at the opposite time. So meaning I would have these crazy contractions, and then after it would calm down, and then maybe I'd dilate a little, and then these crazy contractions, and then I would dilate a little. So the timing wasn't working quite right. And so the doctor said, I'm going to have to manually dilate you. And I was like, what does that mean?
That's not a thing.
What does that mean? What is she going to do?
Thank you.
And so she literally took her fingers, put them together inside of me, and she waited. She waited with her fingers inside of me
For the contraction.
and then waited for the contraction. And as I was going through the contraction, which is a tremendous amount of pain, she kept moving her fingers to dilate.
And you're like, ah! I know. You can't scream loud enough.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My husband said I looked like the Exorcist and my head was spinning.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And so after going through the contraction, then she released, and then she'd stick her fingers back in, waiting for my second contraction. It was brutal. That was absolutely
That's
brutal.
terrible. That's terrible.
But she delivered a very healthy baby girl, and we got through it. And you seem to forget about all these details unless you're on CrotchTalk.
Yeah. That's when I went in for the second delivery. I remember didn't remember anything, and then it was time to start pushing, because I didn't my first child. I was in labor for probably about 20 hours, and I lost my contractions. I had to take that, whatever it is.
Pitocin.
Yes,
Yeah.
to bring him back.
Right.
Yeah.
So with my younger one, it was I was there in 4 hours, and all of a sudden I realized it was time to do this, and I'm like, no, because I remembered that it came back. You think you forget, but it came back.
Came back.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I wanted to be tough and not have any type of spinal injections. I can't remember what.
I had
No,
multiple.
it was
I
only
had
local.
multiple.
Yeah, we didn't have epidurals. We couldn't have those where we are. So it was just a local through the IV bag. That's all
I think
we
I
had.
had the first time
Yep.
I had that.
that-
I do think I got the epidural the second time.
Rural medicine.
They did not have epidurals.
Wow.
Oh, maybe then it was something other kind of shot though.
No, it's maybe because but it's usually through the IV bag.
I had one contraction. I said, give me all the drugs.
This isn't worth
I'm
it.
not man enough for this. I cannot handle it.
The other part in the things that they don't tell you about pregnancy, and I remember it clearly coming home from the doctor one day, and I told her that the doctor said we're supposed to lose a mucus plug. What
is
did
that?
I lose it already? What is that? Where is it coming from? Is it coming out of the anal flower? I mean, what are we talking about here? And apparently it's something that builds up in your vagina that's a bit mucusy, and then it leaves your body right before you have a child. For any of you, did your water break?
So that's why I went to labor early for Clara. So my water broke when I was at home. So I had my horrible meeting with the doctor. He calls me. I'm freaking out. I'm taking Primrose oil. I'm both taking it as a pill and plus rubbing it down there because I'm like, I'm doing this vaginally. And I swear to God, I think I broke my own liner. So anyway, yeah, my water broke at home. It was at 6:00. If that happens to any of you, make sure you eat food before you go to the hospital, because they will not feed you once you get
feed you.
there.
Oh, good
they will
thing
not
to know.
feed you.
Good thing to know.
Anyway, so yeah, my water broke, which is why I probably forced myself into labor a little bit earlier than I should have been, and maybe I did not do anything with the primrose oil. But anyway, I did. My water did break, and so with each contraction, you're losing more and more water, but it's not like a big whoosh of water.
I kept waiting for
Honey,
that.
grab the bag. Let's go.
I didn't get that at either time, and I do actually vividly remember being in the hospital and the nurse sitting between my legs with what looked like a 24-inch knitting needle. Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna go break your water now. I'm like, where do you need to go with that thing? I mean, do you need to go to my heart? Because that's really unnecessary.
I do remember they said, the nurse said, my temperature was going up and Zach's heart rate was going down. And so she said, if you have 2 pushes to get this baby out and you're having a C-section. And I shot that kid out.
Nice. Well, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what this is about and didn't take the classes, I didn't take the classes. Oh, you didn't either? Okay, 3 of us.
No
3
classes.
for 3, no classes. So you can get through it. But when the doctor was telling me to push, I was an athlete. I felt like I had really strong abs at the time, even though they were now ballooned over the baby. And she told me to push, and I was pushing, and she's like, no, push like you need to poop. I was like, huh? She's like, push like you need to poop. I was like, oh, that doesn't feel right. I don't want to poop. I was like, look, I could just flex the baby out. Like, I'll work from the top and just like push down. And she's like, hold your breath and push like you need to poop. Yeah, that's the move to get a baby out. It definitely.
That's why I pooped on the ball, because I knew that. I knew that. Get this thing out of me now.
I was arguing with her. I was like, no, I can flex this baby out. And she absolutely said that. She actually called I'm the doctor.
Nice.
This is your first time at the rodeo, babe.
That's awesome.
I thought I had it
That's
all.
awesome. That's awesome.
But yeah.
How about being said you could take that thing home with you? I mean, the baby.
Right.
I'm like, what? Am I qualified for this?
How am I qualified?
Right.
How am I qualified for this?
It's totally weird going in there and leaving as more than you came in there with. So if you're just going in there on your own, or if your husband is with you, and if you go in as 2 and you come back as 3, it's scary.
They're so slippery.
They're so slippery.
I know.
And you feed them and they poop immediately. Like immediately.
Gosh. Yeah,
I
up
just
the
wanted
back.
to feed them on the changing table because
And the seed poops. You know what I'm talking about? Do you remember the seed poops? Like, so when they're first born, like their poop, it's like it looks like there's a bunch of
seedy,
seeds in them. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
I remember the
Seed poops.
explosions of baby diapers. Like, you think you have a diaper on, but it goes up to their neck.
Up to their neck.
They need
Up to
almost
their
like
neck.
a full-on straitjacket
Yep.
around their entire body.
That's why they have onesies. It's like it's not enough to have one layer of clothing. We need multiple.
Get lots of onesies.
soak that shit up.
I really commend.
Literally.
Have any of you tried the natural diapers, the washable?
Yeah, I played that game for like 2 seconds.
Me too. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. It's the right thing to do. There's so much waste and garbage in this world. But as soon as you have to deal with 3 of them, I think you're done. That should be actually like a test and see.
Yeah, I don't know how if you work and you can. Yeah, I went straight to disposable.
Yeah, so if there was like a company that would pick up all your
Right.
grossness, wash
Right.
them for you, bring all the grossness, the clean to be grossed again.
Yeah.
That was a thing, right? Wasn't there?
There was.
Yeah.
There was. I
Yeah.
do remember that.
Listen, the only diaper genie thing that I use now is for my cats. It's wonderful.
Your cats wear diapers?
Good question.
Well, that's great. That's a super fair question. I'm just thinking I used to have the diaper genie where we put our
Right,
dirty diapers.
right.
And so they have one of those for the cat litter so that like you could put the cat poop and cat pee because I can't flush. I have a septic. So I put that in
Nice.
the diaper or the kitty genie, I guess. I'd much prefer dealing with that.
I didn't know you couldn't flush if you had a septic. Okay. That's another episode. Septic.
Septic welfare.
Oh, that is another episode. And what not to put into a
Country
septic.
living.
God
exactly.
forbid.
Exactly.
God forbid.
No tampons.
No tampons. They say flushable. They're not really.
I have signs in my house that say only flush toilet paper.
Do not flush your tampon down here.
Well, I don't know that this is the highlight of our crotch talk
Then you gotta
conversations.
wrap that thing up.
But certainly this has been a lot of fun, and many other topics for Crotch Talk in the future have evolved. Well, Jen and Caitlin, thank you for sharing those stories, and I'll see you all next time on Crotch Talk.